Hello everybody, and welcome to this exciting topic that we are going to talk about today, shock. It will blow your mind. We're going to break it down simple for you so you get the basic knowledge that you need to be successful with the fundamental concepts you might be learning later on if you choose to go into nursing or any other healthcare profession. My name's Dr. Hughley and I'm happy to be here. I work for Weber State in the Doctorate Nurse Practitioner program. So with shock, it's defined as a physiologic condition where there's inadequate blood flow and oxygen to the cells, tissues, and organs of the body. So what does that mean? Well, if we don't have blood flow, it cannot carry oxygen, and therefore we have an oxygen demand but not enough oxygen supply. So blood flow, this is what carries oxygen-rich red blood cells throughout the body, which help to assist with the necessary cellular processes that keep our bodies functioning. Anything that disrupts this beautiful flow of blood, delivering wonderful oxygen-enriched red blood cells, you have a pathogenesis of shock when we don't have that oxygen that we need. So there are different types of shock. There's your hypovolemic shock, and this occurs when there's just not enough blood volume. So when you don't have enough blood volume coming through, then that is defined as hypovolemic shock. There's cardiogenic shock. What's cardiogenic shock? Basically, it's if you have a problem with your heart, it being weak, maybe caused by an MI, but it's your pump, and your pump cannot effectively deliver that beautiful flow of blood out of your heart. Obstructive shock, well, the word obstructive, something's blocking. So a pulmonary embolism, or something's blocking the flow of blood to get to those cells, tissues, and organs. And then distributive shock, what that is basically is just flaccid vessels. You have the flow, there's nothing blocking it, the heart is pumping it, but the vessels are just flaccid, and so you don't have enough tension to get the blood where it needs to go. So there are a myriad of things that can cause shock. Heavy internal bleeding, like by trauma, if somebody had a gunshot wound to their femoral artery and they start bleeding out, well, they're not going to have enough blood flow. Dehydration, that's another form of hypovolemic shock, especially if it's severe dehydration, when you've been in the sun a long time, have heat illness, if you've got persistent vomiting or diarrhea, that can lead to hypovolemic shock. Infection, we've all heard about septic shock, and we're going to go into a little more detail about septic shock. It will be awesome. Stay tuned in a few videos to come. But infection can lead to septic shock. An extreme allergic reaction, that can really lead to a distributive shock. So what do I mean by an extreme allergic reaction? I'm talking about anaphylaxis. And again, that can do something with those vessels to make them flaccid. Another thing that can make your vessels flaccid is a spinal cord injury. That's neurogenic shock as well. Heart conditions such as a heart attack would be cardiogenic shock. And then a pulmonary embolism, like I said earlier, can be a form of obstructive shock. So why is shock so deadly? Oh, shock! Why do we really care? Why is it so deadly? It's all about ATP, baby. Now we know that ATP is the money to pay the bills, the money to pay the rent. We have to pay our cellular workforce to do these things to keep our body functioning. And if we can't give them ATP, they're out. Nobody wants to work for free. So oxygen is required to make ATP. We know through the electronic transport chain, you've all learned about that the end product is ATP energy. We use glucose and oxygen, but if there is no oxygen, there will be no ATP, and we can't do anything for free in our body. And that is what happens when we do not have the oxygen we need, caused by shock because we don't have adequate blood flow. We don't have adequate pump to pump it out. We have something obstructing it, or we have the vessels that are just flaccid and lazy and won't do their job. So that is very basic, what shock is and why it's so deadly. Again, I'm Dr. Hughley with Weber State. Thanks for joining.